Lesson 50 today is about scientific notation, and we use scientific notation to help us write really big numbers or really small numbers. Now, our first problem is to write 7,024,000 in scientific notation. Now, whenever we write a number in scientific notation, we're going to follow this process. What we want is we want to have a digit in the ones spot. So we're going to get 7 this time, because 7 is the first digit that we see. We're going to have a decimal place because we only want something in the ones spot. Then we're going to write everything after that in the decimal places that they belong to. So we're going to have 7.024. We're not going to add the zeros after those because those are just placeholders at that point. So we get 7.024. When we write in scientific notation, we're going to write times 10 to some power. Now, in order to figure out what our power is going to be, we have to move the decimal point. We're going to see how many spots we have to move the decimal point from our original position in the number 7,024,000 to make this into a decimal of 7.024. So we moved 3 times, and now we move 6 times. We move 3 at a time. So we're going to get 7.024 times 10 to the 6th power. And this is our number written in scientific notation. It's exactly the same as 7,024,000. It's just a different way of expressing the same value. So we could box this. We're all done. And we're going to move on to the next problem. Let's say we have 476 and 23 hundredths, and we want to write it in scientific notation. So remember, we only want something in the ones place. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this is going to become 4.7623 times 10 to some power. To figure out our power, we figure out how many spots we have to move the decimal to get the 4 to be in our ones place. We have to move it once, twice to get it right there. So we're going to have 10 to the 2nd power. We've got our number written in scientific notation. 4.7623 times 10 to the 2nd power. And we're all done. Here we go. Let's write 0.0652 in scientific notation. So the first non-zero digit that we have is a 6. So we're going to put that in the ones spot, and we're going to have 6.52 times 10 to some power. Now this time, we've got to move the decimal backwards, 2 spots. Since we're moving the decimal backwards, this is a much smaller number than we had before, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to say this is going to be to the negative 2nd power. Since we had to go the other direction, we're going to use the other sign for our power. 6.52 times 10 to the negative 2nd, and we've written our number in scientific notation. Alright, write these numbers in standard notation. So if we want to write them in standard notation, we're taking scientific notation and we're changing it back into the whole number written with all of its zeros. So this one is 4.6 times 10 to the negative 4th power. Remember, negative 4th power means we have to move the other direction. We're going to move to the left. Negative powers give us decimal numbers. So we've got 4.6, and we're going to move the decimal to the left because negative powers give us decimal numbers. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here's our new decimal spot. We're going to add zeros in as placeholders, and we get our answer of 0.00046. So we've taken that first problem A, we've written that number that was originally in scientific notation into standard notation. If we look at problem B, same number in front times 10 to the 4th power. Positive powers mean big numbers. So we're going to have to move the decimal to the right. So we're going to get 4.6, and then we're going to move the decimal spot 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here's our new decimal point. We need zeros as placeholders, and we can see what our new number is. It is 46,000. We don't need to write the decimal point because it's just 0.000. We've got our final answer for problem B. Let's move on to the next slide. Our next slide, lesson practice, page 164. Make sure you've got your notes completed, and I'll see you in class next time. Have a nice afternoon.